Hey, so this is a vlog about expectations, particularly of technology. This is inspired by a Time magazine interview with Louis C.K. because he was talking about stuff kind of like this, and I'll put the link for that in the description here. It got me thinking really about he was talking about like with having internet on an airplane, and people getting frustrated with it cutting out, or he said he got frustrated with it, and then realized, well, hey, it's amazing that we can even do this, and then he said that if we had jetpacks, people still would be complaining, man, my jetpack sucks. And what it got me thinking about is smartphones in particular. Largely because I have one, but with smartphones, with computers, with TVs, all this kind of stuff. Generally, when there's a conversation about people comparing different brands and products, there's like a really negative approach to it. That's like people were talking about like why everything sucks. They're like people were saying like. They'll be talking about a new phone and said, yeah, it's got a really great processor and, it has all these cool features, but the camera's crap and, the resolution is shitty, and it's like, I think the thing of it is, people are expecting, like, perfection and convenience. They're expecting this, like, seamless experience. They want a phone that's basically gonna like make it so when you're on the phone with someone, it's like you're right there with them, and you can't tell the difference between being on the phone and not being there with them. And when you take a video, like anyone who watches it will feel like they're actually there. And if you're connected to the internet, anything you want to find will come up the instant you think of it. And, I don't think anyone, if you actually ask them, would say that that's what they want. But just the extent to which people are so critical of technology, it, like, seems like that's what people want. Because, internet keeps getting faster and faster, especially on phones. And people are still complaining about it being slow, or even when it slows down a little bit from its like optimum speed, and you're loading a web page, and say with your connection and your service, it usually loads basic web page in like less than a second. And another time you have to wait like 3 seconds for it. I've heard people complain about that. And it's just ridiculous because everyone in my generation or younger, my generation or older, remembers when the internet was... when everything was like so much simpler. It was just like maybe a picture and like a few words on a page and a bunch of little frames, if you know what a frame is. No one uses them anymore, but even a simple page like that, you could be waiting like 2 minutes for it. It's like a 56K modem. Or not modem. I had 56K dial-up. That was my first connection. And I think pretty much anyone over like, I don't know, like 20 probably can remember that. I know the younger kids have come up with like completely immersed in all the technology. I'm the generation that was beginning of like really coming up with it. Like I had I remember there being computers in my school from at least since I was like in first grade or something. But anyway, I mean, it's just come so far with, like, you know, back then it was, the first computers they had in my school were, I don't know what they were, they might have been Mac 2s or something. All I remember is that it was just like plain, was it white or green text? I don't know, but it was all text on the screen, and you know, a black screen, and that's all it was. Like there wasn't even any GUI yet. You know, in the school computers. I mean, like, you know, large companies could have access to that stuff already at that point because it's like the early 90s, but you know, the computers were so simple, and like now you have these like HD displays that to the naked eye look pretty much like it's real, and people are still complaining about the technology. I think it's good that we're still moving forward with it. You know, we should keep getting like higher quality and stuff. I mean, you know, that's all cool for artists and making like films that are very like immersive, and you know, increasing like the integration of all these technologies and making them more convenient and accessible and all this. I think that's a really good thing. But it's just ridiculous to me that people are talking about it in negative terms. It's like, you know, it's like people were saying, you know, they're complaining about the progress being like slower than they want it to be. They're complaining about products having like lower resolution and like working slower than they want it to. It's just like, how much do you want out of everything? Like, I mean, have you even stopped to think about that? Like, what are the demands that are somewhere in the back of your mind that are just so astronomical? Seriously. I mean, you know, I don't know if people really give thought to that, but I don't think, you know, it really makes sense to be, like, setting, you know, the Jetsons as the bar, or, well, no, it's not a good example, but, you know, Star Trek or something, you know, that's what your expectation is. And it's so big as an example of where, you know, with our expectations, we're really just shooting ourselves in the ass. Because it's like, you know, you can say, hey, it would be cool if they have this technology within 2 years, but don't be attached to that expectation. It's just like anything else in life. What good does it do to you to say this has to happen by this time? Because you don't really have control over that. So, you know, why are you going to be so set on it to the point where when it doesn't happen, you're like, oh, it's still not here. I still don't have a flying car. Oh, no. Like, you know, I mean, it's just amazing that we have as much technology as we have. I'm holding a cell phone in my hand right now, and there's a camera. It's like the size of my thumbnail, and it's recording this video to a tiny little card like this big inside of my phone. And when I'm done, I'm going to send this video. It's going to be, it might be close to a gigabyte. I'm going to send that to YouTube, and they're going to store that for me for free and let unlimited people around the world watch it. As many people as want to watch it. I mean, it probably won't be many, but if 2 million people wanted to watch it, that would be fine, because they're making money off of that. And that's crazy that they can do that. If you think of this in terms of, like, from 1992, like, people would be in shock at the idea that you could even think this stuff was possible. And, you know, I'm going to send this video in, like, a minute. It's pretty crazy. You know, so I've got really no complaints, but it's just, like, one of those things where it's like, why talk about it in negative terms? Because, you know, you can say what technologies you want, and give the companies feedback on that. They have surveys for that reason, but when there's surveys, people are like, you know, they don't want to have anything to do with that stuff. And that's how you can help improve the technology quicker, but just, the complaining doesn't get anyone anywhere. I don't know, I think that's enough of a rant about technology and stuff, but it's like, anyone who remembers from like before like 97 at least should be able to like step back and appreciate just how crazy it is that we even have all these things, and not be so frustrated that stuff is not doing everything we like envision as possible for it. Because it takes time to develop these things. It takes a lot of money for these companies, and that's why you want the really powerful stuff, you gotta pay. Pay a pretty good amount of money for it. I have a Galaxy S2, and now I'm 2 generations behind at this point, but it's still like, it still does a lot for me. It's a pretty powerful phone. It was one of the highest rated at its times, and it's doing this for me. It's recording this video, and in HD, no less. I think that's pretty wild, there's limitations, but I'm not really complaining about that. I'm looking forward to maybe at some point getting an S4 or something, but I'm not going to waste my time like bitching about what it doesn't do exactly the way I want to. Except for like it occasionally like shutting off on me, that's kind of annoying. But as far as the actual like potential of the technology, the power of the technology, just realize that you can let go of a little bit of the worrying and overanalyzing if you look at stuff with a little more gratitude. And at this point, anyone who's watching this video probably knows exactly what I'm talking about, but it's just what's out there. And I guess I shouldn't, I just realized that I'm kind of in a way complaining about like what's going on in society, but it is kind of like a critical response. It just gets me thinking. I have that kind of stand-up comedian kind of mindset where I'm like looking at all these things. So Louis C.K. just kind of reminded me of it, and I felt like saying it. But yeah, that's the end of my thing. So I'll see you later.